Hello and welcome to today's video.
You can get the PDF of these notes from the description and the same can be used for your study.
In this video we are going to study about attitude. Attitudes are the set of emotions, beliefs and behaviors towards a particular object, person, thing or event. It is the result of experience or upbringing and can have a powerful influence over behavior. It creates a learned behavior to respond favorably or unfavorably towards objects, events or persons. While attitudes are enduring predispositions, they can also change. Here, predisposition means the tendency to behave in a particular way, and enduring means attitudes are not momentary but persistent. Crutch and Crushfield defined attitude as enduring organization of motivational, emotional, perceptual, and cognitive processes with respect to some aspect of individual's world. For example, you may hold a positive attitude towards recycling. It results in positive feelings towards recycling, such as it makes me feel good to recycle, and this attitude gets reflected in your behavior. You actually recycle as often as you can, and finally, this attitude will be reflected in favorable thoughts such as recycling is good for environment or recycling is the responsible thing to do. Now let's see the components of attitude. It is referred to as CAB or the ABC of attitude. First comes the cognitive component. Your thoughts and beliefs about the object comes under this. Is the individual's perception and may or may not be factually correct. Second comes the affective component. How the object or person or event makes you feel. It is a mixture of positive and negative feelings about the object. The third is the behavioral component. It is how the attitude influences your behavior. It may or may not be in the form of a clear response. Let's see an example. Affect is how a consumer feels about an object, such as I like high heels. The behavior is a person's intention with regard to an object, such as I purchased a high heel. Then comes the cognition. It is the beliefs a person has about an object, such as I believe I am attractive after wearing high heels. Now let's see the characteristics of attitudes. The most important characteristics of attitude is that it is learned. It is acquired as a result of socialization. Also, attitudes are enduring, which means that it is not subject to change easily. Also, attitudes conform to principle of consistency. Otherwise, cognitive dissonance will happen. The attitudes reflect our response readiness and can be expressed through verbal and non-verbal behavior. They can be held by individuals as well as groups. Also, attitude vary in degree and direction. Attitudes can be positive as well as negative. Attitudes are expressed intelligibly. It will be exposed even if the person does not want to show.
In the third point, we had seen that lack of consistency will lead to cognitive dissonance. Now let's see cognitive dissonance in detail. It refers to a situation involving conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors. This dissonance produces a feeling of mental discomfort in a person, which leads to alteration of one of the attitudes, beliefs, or behavior in order to reduce the discomfort and thus restore the balance.
This discomfort can lead to anxiety, embarrassment, regret, sadness, shame, or stress. The classic example of cognitive dissonance is smoking. When people smoke, they know that smoking causes cancer. They are in a state of cognitive dissonance. Leon Festinger first proposed the theory of cognitive dissonance centered on how people try to reach internal consistency. People overcome cognitive dissonance by adding more supportive beliefs or by reducing the importance of the conflicting behavior. or sometimes even changing your belief. Let us see how attitude formation takes place. Attitudes are not biologically inherited, but built out of continuous experience from the world around us. The mechanisms involved in attitude formation are rewards and punishment, observation learning, social comparison, conformity pressure, identification and imitation, role playing, etc. Some weak attitudes can be developed through subliminal conditioning also, but to make it strong, other mechanisms mentioned above would be required. Now let's see the measurement of attitude. Attitude can be measured directly or indirectly. Direct measurement of attitude is using Likert scale or the semantic differential. In Likert scale, a 5 or 7 point scale is used to allow the individual to express how much they agree or disagree with a particular statement. The grading will vary from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Similarly, in semantic scale, a rating is provided. But the major drawback of direct measurement is exhibition of social desirability. Then comes the indirect measurement. Here, the social desirability factor is completely ruled out because people are unaware of what is being measured and they are unable consciously to affect what is being measured. The indirect measurement technique consists of projective techniques and implicit association tests. Some of the projective tests are Rorschach-Inkblot test and thematic apperception test or TAT. Now let's see the changes in attitude. Two types of changes can take place. First is the changes in degree of the attitude. In changes in degree, attitudes can be reinforced where a positive attitude becomes more positive. Similarly, a negative attitude can become more negative. Also, degree of attitude can be reduced. This happens because of the dissonance. Here, the positive attitude becomes less positive. Similarly, a negative attitude can become less negative also. Then comes the changes in direction of the attitude. A positive attitude can become a negative attitude. Similarly, if a person is having a negative attitude, it can become a positive attitude also. But this type of changes in direction of an attitude is more difficult to happen as compared to change of degree. Now let's study about theories of attitude changes. The first category of theories are consistency theories. Consistency theories examines the relationship between attitudes and beliefs. Festinger's cognitive dissonance theory is one among them. It states that dissonance, being psychologically uncomfortable, motivates person to take steps to reduce dissonance and achieve consonance. The second category of theories is equilibrium theories. Heidegger's balance theory is one among them. It explores the relationship between three entities, namely person P, object O, and impersonal object X. As shown in the figure, in order to create balance, attitude that needs least effort for changing will be changed. Congruity theory by Osgood, Suzy, and Tannenbaum is also an equilibrium theory. It states that congruity exists when a person holds identical attitudes towards a source and a topic. In order to achieve that congruity, changes will happen. The third category of theories are perceptual theories. Self-perception theory by Darrell Bum is one among them. It says that people understand from their own behavior. Attribution theory is also a perceptual theory, where attribution is the process of inferring the causes of particular behaviors or events, and this attribution may result in changing our attitude. The next perceptual theory is the social judgment theory. It was given by Sharif. It states that attitude change is mediated by judgmental processes. As shown in the figure, there is an anchor point P, which is the most preferred position. There is a zone of rejection, there is a zone of indifference, and a zone of acceptance. If the attitudes are coming in the zone of acceptance, it is accepted. And if it is falling outside the zone of indifference, they are rejected. The fourth category of theories are reinforcement theories. The reinforcement theories consist of classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and observation learning. That is all for today. Have a nice day.